Hello, welcome to today's practice. Come and join me on your mat. If you take a seat, either with your legs crossed or in whichever way feels the most comfortable to sit. So with your hands just resting onto your knees or onto the ground. Take a deep breath in, lift the shoulders up. Exhale, release them down. Just repeat that 2 or 3 times. Exhale, release the shoulders down. Inhale, lift them up. Exhale, release them down. Just softly close your eyes. So taking a moment to arrive at your mat, letting go of whatever you were doing before you started this practice and whatever you might have going on afterwards. Breathing in deeply through the nose, taking a nice long exhale breath out through the mouth. Letting go of any tension you're holding in your body that you don't need to be. And just allowing yourself to settle into your breath and into your mat. So today's practice is themed around the crow pose, Bakasana. Whether you can achieve this posture or not, the movements we're going to be doing will be all about strengthening the core, strengthening the upper body. So even if you don't come into the crow pose, that doesn't really matter. That's not the main aim. The main aim is to move your body in a way that feels good and to create more strength, mobility, flexibility throughout the body. Softly open your eyes. So we're going to come from here down onto our back. So if you make your way down onto your back, bring both knees to the chest and just start to gently circle the knees round. Using your hands to guide the knees round. Just feeling the pressure moving across the lower spine, gradually or steadily warming up the body. Change direction. Now keeping hold of your right knee, let the left leg drop down to the ground. So holding onto that right knee, just start to rotate your right ankle round. And then change direction. Repeat the same on the left. So left knee to the chest, right leg down to the ground. Start to rotate that left foot round. And then change direction. Then bending both knees, place the soles of the feet onto the ground. So lifting your arms up, so wrists, elbows and shoulders in line or thereabouts. And I want you to make a fist with both hands, so rotating the wrists round. You could do this one at a time if you prefer, or both together. Change direction. And release. Okay, so fingers pointing up. So we're going to bend and point the fingers towards the head direction and then release. So bend and release. And then relax the arms down for a moment. Okay, so start with the knees bent, feet on the ground. With your hands, you can either have the fingers pointing, or you can have the hands flexed. So you're going to extend the arms up above the head. So from here, we're going to lift up, bringing your hands or your elbows as close to your knees as you can. So lifting up, bring the elbows towards the knees and then tap the toes down. So we lift up and release. As a guide, inhaling as you lift, exhaling as you release. So we're lifting up, tapping down, lift and tap. And you'll notice that this is starting to warm up, wake up, fire up the core muscles, as well as inviting movements in the shoulders. So let's do 5 more. 4, 3, 2, 1 more. And release. Let your arms come down by your side and just gently sway the knees from the right to the left. Okay, so finding the most comfortable way to bring yourself up to seated. So coming up to a seated position to start with, and then releasing the legs. So you might recognize this posture. We're going to come into a variation of the boat pose, and then we're going to tuck and hug the knees in towards the chest. So we're going to try and do that without putting the heels down if possible. So extending your arms out, lean back and lift your heels off the ground. So we can have the knees bent or we can straighten the legs. Then we're going to tuck in. So we go out and then tuck in. So you're keeping your heels off the ground, ideally, moving from that knees tucked position into the boat. So in and release. Tuck in, release. So let's do 5 more. 4, 3, 2, 1. And then release the legs down. Take a kind of fairly steady forward folding stretch. So just so you can feel a little bit of a release down the back of the legs. It doesn't have to be the biggest forward folding stretch that you can do. Just a little release for the knees, ankles and hips. And then making your way onto your hands and knees. So hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips. Let's give the spine a little bit of a warm up. So from here, taking an inhale breath, tilting the head and hips up towards the ceiling. Exhale to arch the spine. Inhaling, tilt the head and hips up. So creating as much movement as you can in your spine. Like we're creating waves. A couple more times in each direction. So once more tilting up, once more arching. Now come into a comfortable position. That could be child's pose, that could be kneeling, that could be seated. So just coming into a more restful, relaxed position. Soften the shoulders, relax the wrists, the elbows, and just take a moment here. So in the most comfortable position for you. So whether that's seated, child's pose, kneeling. Breathing in deeply through the nose and exhaling out from the mouth. Now the second part of our warm-up for this practice, bring your hands under your shoulders, knees under the hips, tucking the toes into the ground and lifting up into a downward facing dog. So as a guide, your feet are about hip width distance, your hands are about shoulder width or thereabouts. So pressing back into the heels, just take a moment to further warm up the back of the legs, take a little bit of a paddle with the heels. And then pressing both heels towards the ground. So from here, we inhale, press back into the heels. Exhale, shift the weight forwards, coming into a plank pose. So inhaling to push back into the downward facing dog. Exhale, coming into our plank pose. Now options, if you want to bring this down a little bit, so modify, Then we can come back into a downward facing dog. We can pop our knees down as we come into that plank pose. So a little bit less pressure on the shoulders, the wrists. So into your downward facing dog, and then pop the knees down into that 3/4 plank position. So either on the knees or on the toes. So we'll do 4 more. 3 more. 2 more. Last one. Hover in that plank position, whether it's knees or toes, and then release the knees down. Just take a little bit of a release with the wrists, rotating the wrists round. Okay, so coming into a low lunge, stepping the right leg out to the front, your left knee down onto the ground. So arms start by your side. We're going to lift the arms up, tucking your toes under on that back foot, lifting up into a high lunge. So a little bit of a bend in that back knee, lots of bend in the front knee. So from here, you're going to sweep forwards and lift. So keeping your arms extended. You're reaching out to the front and then lifting back up to straight. So hinging forwards from the hips, back up to straight. So using your legs, your core to keep you as steady as possible. So 4 more. Lift up. 3 more. Now this is really agitating your shoulders. Then bring the hands to the hips. You can do the same movement. And it's still challenging your legs. Still challenging your balance, but a little bit softer on the shoulders. Okay, come back down. So change sides. Bring the left leg to the front, coming into a low lunge. So start with the arms by your side. Take the arms up, extend up towards the ceiling. Tuck your toes under on that back foot and lift into a high lunge. So there's a little bit of bend in that back knee. There's lots of bend in the front knee. Either arms straight or hands to hips. So we take an inhale as we're in the high lunge, exhale, shift forwards. So your legs stay still. We're hinging from the hips, bringing our chest and our belly towards your left leg, your front leg, and then come back up. Keep going, 4 more. 2 more. Last one. And then release it down to let your arms drop down. Drop that back knee down. Come to either a kneeling or a seated position. Just release out the shoulders. Let your arms relax by your side. So coming down onto your forearms, elbows under the shoulders, take the knees beyond the hips. So we're going to go from a kind of baby cobra position. You're going to keep your toes tucked and we're going to try and lift into the plank pose. So going from here, elbows just under the shoulders and then lifting up. So you're coming down and then lifting up. So from the ground up. So using a combination of the arms, the core, and the legs to help you. So let's do 4 more. Release down, little stretch for the back. Down, stretch out the back. 2 more. And on this last one, release the hips down. Stay in that baby cobra, so release the feet. Hover here, draw the shoulders away from your ears, lift the chin away from your chest. So hopefully that should have got you nice and warm, woken up and fired up your tummy, your back, your legs and your shoulders. Okay, a little release down. Bring the hands under your forehead, resting your forehead onto your hands.